If betrayal had a sound, it would be the soft vibration of a phone you were never meant to see. If you're new to this channel, just subscribe now and say it in the comment section. It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday that slips by unnoticed, buried between grocery lists and traffic in Lekki. I remember the scent of lemongrass from the diffuser in our living room and the hum of the generator outside. I remember thinking how peaceful everything felt. That was the irony of it all. My name is Amora Okafor, and for 6 years I believed I had a good marriage. Not perfect, no marriage is, but solid. Respectable. The kind people admired quietly and envied loudly. My husband, Tunde Okafor, was charming in a way that made rooms soften around him. He knew how to laugh at the right moments, how to hold my waist in public like I was the only woman alive. We lived in a beautiful duplex in Lekki. White walls, glass balcony, polished marble floors. People called us couple goals. At weddings, friends would nudge each other and whisper, "That's the kind of marriage I want." I used to smile when I heard it. I wore those words like jewelry. That Tuesday evening, Tunde adjusted his cufflinks in the hallway mirror. "Late meeting tonight," he said casually. "Victoria Island. Might be back past midnight." I was sitting on the arm of the couch, scrolling through my phone. "Again?" I asked lightly. "You people and these endless meetings." He laughed. "My wife wants me broke." I walked up to him and straightened his collar. "Just don't forget you have a home." He kissed my forehead. "You worry too much." Ifunanya, my cousin, was in the kitchen rinsing plates. She had been staying with us for 3 months while job hunting. Soft-spoken, always smiling, always grateful. Or so I thought. As Tunde stepped out, he called toward the kitchen, "Ifunanya, lock the door after Amora. I might not carry my keys." "I will, brother-in-law," she replied sweetly. Brother-in-law. The word makes my stomach twist now. The house felt unusually quiet after he left. I told myself it was just one of those moods. I showered, changed into silk pajamas, and tried to watch a movie. Around 9:30 p.m., I decided to make tea. That's when I saw it. His second phone. It was lying on the small console table near the staircase. Black. Faceless. Innocent looking. My heartbeat changed. Tunde had once joked that every successful man needs 2 phones, one for business, one for privacy. I had laughed then. It wasn't funny now. I picked it up slowly, like it might burn me. The screen lit up immediately. No password. Just a notification sliding across the top. "I can't wait to see you tonight, red heart #Ifunanya." For a moment, my brain refused to process it. It felt like reading a foreign language I almost understood. I blinked. The message remained. "Ifunanya. My cousin. The same girl who braided my hair when we were teenagers. The same girl sleeping under my roof." My hands began to tremble. I checked the time on the message. 8:52 p.m. less than an hour ago. I swallowed hard and tapped the screen. Their chat opened. Weeks of messages. Secret jokes. Photos. Plans. Words that should never have existed between them. Room 517 tonight. Don't keep me waiting. My knees felt weak, so I sat on the staircase. The house suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I had walked into someone else's life. From the kitchen, Ifunanya's voice floated in. "Sister Amora, do you want rice or noodles?" Her tone was normal. Calm. Almost cheerful. I stared at the phone in my hand. My voice, when it came, surprised me. It was steady. "I'm not hungry." "Okay," she replied. "Okay." That word echoed in my mind. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream her name. Something inside me was shifting, not shattering, just rearranging itself into something colder. Sharper. I opened the message thread again and found the location tag attached to an earlier text. Eco Hotel. Room 517. The generator outside coughed to life again, and in that mechanical growl, I made a decision. I walked upstairs, changed into jeans and a black blouse, tied my hair back, and picked up my car keys. My reflection in the mirror looked different. The softness was gone. As I descended the stairs, Ifeanyi stepped out of the kitchen holding a bowl. "You're going out?" she asked. "Yes," I replied calmly. "I forgot something at the office." "At this time?" I looked at her directly. "At this time?" She held my gaze for a fraction too long before smiling. "Drive safely." I nodded and walked out. The night air in Lekki was humid, thick against my skin. I got into my car and started the engine. My chest felt tight, but my mind was clear. I opened the location feature on the phone. The little blinking dot confirmed it. Eco Hotel. Traffic was lighter than usual. Streetlights blurred past as I drove toward Victoria Island. My thoughts moved in strange patterns. I remembered our wedding day, Tunde lifting my veil, whispering, "Forever." I remembered defending him when friends hinted he was too friendly. I remembered inviting Ifeanyi to stay with us because family should help family. The phone buzzed again in my lap. A new message. "Are you here?" I didn't need to check who sent it. By the time I pulled into the hotel driveway, my heartbeat had slowed into something almost rhythmic. The security guard directed me to park. I stepped out, heels clicking against the pavement. The lobby was bright, polished, indifferent. A couple walked past me laughing. I wondered if they were loyal to each other. I didn't go to the reception desk. I didn't ask questions. I already had what I needed. I took the elevator. 5th floor. The ride up felt endless. My reflection in the elevator mirror stared back at me, calm, composed, almost elegant. No one would guess the storm underneath. When the doors opened, the corridor stretched ahead, quiet and carpeted. Room numbers lined the walls. 509, 511. 513. Each step felt deliberate. My breathing was steady. I stopped in front of the door. From inside, faint laughter filtered through. A woman's laugh. Light. Familiar. I closed my eyes for 1 second, not in pain, but in acknowledgement. This was real. Then I raised my hand and knocked. The laughter stopped immediately. Not faded. Stopped. Like someone had pressed pause on a scene that wasn't meant to be witnessed. For a brief second, I heard shuffling. A whisper. A thud, something hitting the floor. Then silence. I knocked again. Slow. Deliberate. "Who is it?" Ifeanyi's voice floated through the door, thinner than usual. I didn't answer. There was another whisper. Urgent. Panicked. The lock clicked. The door opened just a few inches, chain still in place. And there she was. Her hair was loose around her shoulders. She wore one of my silk robes, the emerald green one I had given her because she said it made her feel expensive. Her eyes met mine. Every trace of color drained from her face. "Sister, her voice cracked. I gently pushed the door. The chain held it from opening wider, but the gap was enough. Behind her, in the warm yellow light of the hotel room, stood my husband. Tunde Okafor. Wearing nothing but a white towel tied loosely around his waist. His chest still damp from a shower. He froze when he saw me. The towel slipped slightly, and he grabbed it, as if modesty mattered now. "Amora," he breathed. My name sounded foreign coming from his mouth. For a long second, none of us spoke. The air felt thick. Charged. Ifeanyi tried to block the doorway with her body. "It's not what you think," she whispered. I tilted my head slightly. "Then what is it?" Tunde stepped forward. "Let me explain." I let out the smallest laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. "Please do." His confidence, the same confidence that charmed investors and relatives, was flickering. "We were just talking," he said. "In a hotel room," I replied calmly. He swallowed. "It's complicated." I looked at Ifeanyi. "Is it?" Tears welled in her eyes instantly, perfectly timed. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. That sentence. The classic anthem of betrayal. I studied them both. My heart wasn't racing anymore. It was steady. Cold. Observant. I stepped back from the door. "Open it," I said quietly. Neither of them moved. "Open it," I repeated, my tone softer but sharper. Tunde hesitated before removing the chain. The door swung open wider. The scent of perfume, mine, mixed with hotel air conditioning, rushed toward me. I didn't step inside fully. I didn't need to. The bed behind them was unmade. 2 glasses of wine sat on the table. His suit jacket lay on the chair. Her heels were near the edge of the bed. Evidence doesn't need narration. Tunde ran his hand through his hair. "Amora, listen to me. This was a mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed. "Yes. It just happened." I looked at Ifeanyi. "Did it just happen?" She couldn't meet my eyes. "I was lonely," she whispered. "Lonely? In my house. Eating my food. Using my Wi-Fi. Sleeping under my roof. And my husband cured that?" I asked. Silence. Tunde's voice hardened slightly, defensive now. "Don't talk to her like that." I turned my gaze slowly back to him. "Excuse me. She's family." The irony was almost poetic. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Family." His jaw tightened. "Amora, let's not do this here." "Do what?" I asked calmly. "Acknowledge what you're doing." He exhaled sharply. "You're overreacting." There it was. The shift. From guilty to accusing. I smiled. Not a big smile. Just enough. That smile unsettled them more than tears would have. "You're right," I said softly. "We shouldn't do this here." Ifeanyi looked confused. "You're not angry?" "Oh, I am," I replied. "Just not in the way you expect." Tunde took a step toward me. "Amora, let's go home and talk like adults." I held up his second phone. "You forgot something." His eyes widened. "I've seen everything," I added. Ifeanyi let out a small sob. "I'm sorry." I looked at her carefully. "Are you?" She nodded quickly, tears falling now. Tunde reached for my arm. "We can fix this." I pulled my arm away. "No. You can't." The corridor felt colder than before. I took one final look at them, 2 people who had underestimated me, who thought secrecy meant safety. "I won't scream," I said quietly. "I won't fight. I won't embarrass you." Tunde looked relieved for half a second. That was his mistake. I stepped back fully into the corridor. "Enjoy your night, Amora." But I was already turning away. My heels pressed firmly into the carpet as I walked toward the elevator. I didn't rush. I didn't look back. Inside the elevator, I stared at my reflection again. My eyes looked different. Not broken. Not shattered. Just awakened. When I reached the lobby, the world was still moving normally. People laughing. Glasses clinking. life continuing as if nothing had happened. I stepped outside into the humid Lagos night. The city lights shimmered. Cars moved. A distant horn blared. I sat in my car and closed the door. For the first time since seeing that message, I allowed myself to breathe deeply. My hands rested on the steering wheel. They weren't shaking anymore. I thought about screaming. About driving back upstairs and throwing something at them. About dragging them both into the lobby and exposing them publicly. But noise would have satisfied them. It would have reduced this to drama. I wanted consequence. I started the engine. On the drive back to Lekki, I replayed everything in my mind. Not emotionally, strategically. The house. The company. The accounts. The documents. Tunde believed charm was intelligence. He believed I was emotional and he was logical. He believed I depended on him. He had forgotten one crucial detail. I built half of what he was standing on. When I pulled into our driveway, the house looked peaceful again. Almost innocent. Inside, the lights were still on. Ifunanya's bedroom door was closed. Of course it was. I walked upstairs without making noise. I placed the second phone back exactly where I found it. Then I sat on the edge of our bed. The sheets were smooth. The room smelled faintly of his cologne. I didn't cry. Instead, I picked up my own phone and scrolled to a contact I hadn't called in months. Dad. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then I pressed it. My father answered on the third ring. Amora? Is everything okay? His voice carried that instinctive alertness fathers never lose. I inhaled slowly. Daddy, are you home? Yes. A pause. Why? I need you to come to my house tomorrow morning. By 8. Silence. Not confusion. Assessment. What happened? He asked quietly. I looked around my bedroom, the framed wedding photo on the dresser, the silk curtains moving gently from the air conditioner. I'll explain when you get here. Another pause. Then, I'll be there. I ended the call and immediately dialed another number. Tunde's mother, I whispered to myself before pressing call. She picked up with warmth. Amora, my daughter. How are you? I'm fine, Ma, I replied evenly. Please, I need you and Papa to come to our house tomorrow morning. By 8. Her tone shifted slightly. Is Tunde okay? He will be, I said. I just need the family present. She hesitated. Is it serious? Yes. That was enough. We'll come. Next, I called Ifunanya's parents. My aunt answered. Amora. How is Lagos? It's Lagos, I replied. Auntie, I need you and Uncle to come to my house tomorrow morning. It's important. Tomorrow? So sudden. Yes. She sensed the firmness in my voice. We'll try. Please don't try, I said calmly. Come. When I ended the final call, the house felt heavier. Not with sadness. With inevitability. Around 12:40 a.m., I heard the gate open. Tunde was home. His footsteps on the stairs were measured. Controlled. He paused outside the bedroom door before entering, as if rehearsing lines in his head. He stepped inside. Amora. I didn't turn around. I was seated at the vanity, brushing my hair slowly. We need to talk, he said. We will, I replied. He cleared his throat. I made a mistake. You made a series of choices, I corrected softly. He sighed, dropping onto the edge of the bed. It didn't mean anything. I met his reflection in the mirror. That's worse. He rubbed his temples. I was stressed. The business, pressure, expectations. If Unanya was just there. So I wasn't. I asked. You were always busy too, he shot back. You're always calculating, planning, thinking ahead. I set the brush down gently. That's called responsibility. He looked at me carefully. You're too calm. I turned fully toward him. Should I break something? No, he shook his head quickly. I just thought you'd be emotional. I am, I said quietly. Just not in front of you. He stood up and paced. We can fix this. I'll end it. You already started it, I replied. He stopped pacing. What do you want? I want you to sleep, I said. We'll talk in the morning. He frowned. That's it. That's it. He studied me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Eventually, he lay down on his side of the bed. I lay on mine. There was a physical distance between us that felt larger than the entire city of Lagos. I slept. Morning arrived bright and unapologetic. By 7:45 a.m., I was dressed in a simple white blouse and black trousers. My hair was neatly tied back. I brewed coffee. I arranged chairs in the living room. I connected my laptop to the television. At 8:02 a.m., the doorbell rang. My father entered first. Tall, composed, eye scanning everything. He hugged me briefly. Are you okay? I will be, I said. Minutes later, Tunde's parents arrived. His mother looked anxious. His father serious. Unanya came downstairs in a loose dress, pretending confusion. What's going on? She asked softly. Sit, I said. By 8:20 a.m., her parents had arrived too. The living room was full. Air thick with anticipation. Tunde came downstairs last, adjusting his watch. He looked around at the gathering and frowned. What's this? A conversation, I replied. He forced a small laugh. About? I picked up the remote and turned on the TV. The screen lit up, connected to my laptop. His confidence flickered. Tunde, his father said sternly, what is happening? I pressed play. The video began with a view of the hotel corridor. Clear. Steady. My hand had not shaken when I recorded it. The knock on the door echoed through the living room speakers. On screen, the door opened slightly. Unanya's face appeared. Then Tunde behind her, wearing nothing but a towel. No one in the room moved. The video continued, his voice saying, Amora, let me explain. Her whispering. My calm responses. When the clip ended, the silence was so deep it felt physical. Tunde's mother gasped softly, and flying to her chest. Jesus! Unanya's father stood up abruptly. What is this? Tunde tried to speak. It's not. Be quiet, my father said, his voice low but commanding. I folded my hands in front of me. Does anyone need clarification? Unanya burst into tears. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Her mother slapped her across the face. The sound cracked through the room. Tunde's father turned to him. Is this true? Tunde's jaw tightened. It was a mistake. A mistake, his father thundered. With your wife's cousin. His mother began crying openly now. What did we do to deserve this? I remained standing. This isn't about what you deserve, Ma. It's about what was done. Tunde looked at me with something between anger and disbelief. You called everyone. Yes. To embarrass me? No, I replied evenly. To witness truth. My father stood slowly. In our family, we handle matters with dignity. Amora has done exactly that. Unanya slid to her knees. Sister Amora, please forgive me. I looked at her without emotion. Did you think of forgiveness when you were in that hotel room? She sobbed harder. Tunde stepped forward. Enough. We've all seen it. Let's resolve it privately. No, I said firmly. We will resolve it properly. His eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means, I continued calmly, that this marriage will not continue under deception. Gasps filled the room. You're divorcing him, his mother cried. I am filing, I corrected. Tunde laughed sharply. You're overreacting. Am I? I met his gaze steadily. The house is in my name. His expression shifted slightly. The business? I continued. 70% of the startup capital came from my personal investment portfolio. The room went still again. His father looked at him. Is that true? Tunde didn't answer. I stepped closer to the center of the room. I have documentation. Contracts. Transfers. Share distribution. My father nodded once, approvingly. I am not leaving my home, I added. And I will not fund betrayal. Tunde's confidence began to crumble visibly. You wouldn't. I already have, I replied. I met with my lawyer yesterday. That wasn't entirely true, I hadn't met him yet. But I would. If you Nanya, I said without raising my voice, you will pack your things today. She sobbed uncontrollably. Her father dragged her up by the arm. You have shamed us. Tunde looked around, realizing the room had shifted against him. So that's it? 6 years? Yes, I said calmly. 6 years. And one choice. He stared at me as if seeing me clearly for the first time. But this wasn't revenge. It was consequence. The house emptied slowly, like a courtroom after a verdict. Voices lingered in low murmurs. Shoes scraped against marble. Doors opened and closed. No one met my eyes for long. Shame has a scent. It hung in the air long after everyone stepped outside. Tunde remained standing in the living room, hands on his hips, jaw tight. You blindsided me, he said finally. I revealed you, I corrected. You didn't have to involve everyone. I didn't have to marry you either, I replied calmly. He let out a sharp breath. You're enjoying this. I looked at him carefully. You still don't understand me. Upstairs, drawers opened and shut. If Nanya was packing. Her mother's voice floated faintly through the hallway, scolding between sobs. Tunde ran a hand through his hair. We can fix this privately. Withdraw whatever you filed. I haven't withdrawn anything, I said. I'm just getting started. His eyes flickered. Started. I walked to the dining table and picked up a slim brown folder. I slid it toward him. Open it. He hesitated before flipping it open. Inside were photocopies, bank transfers, equity agreements, incorporation documents. Highlighted sections. Signatures. Dates. You kept copies, he muttered. I built the structure, I said evenly. I don't forget foundations. He scanned the pages faster now. This doesn't mean you can just pull out. I can, I replied. There are clauses. You were too eager to expand to read them carefully. He looked up sharply. You're bluffing. Call your lawyer, I said. He'll explain. Silence stretched between us. For the first time since I'd known him, Tunde looked uncertain. Not charming. Not persuasive. Just unsure. Upstairs, footsteps approached. Nanya appeared at the top of the stairs holding a suitcase. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale. She looked smaller somehow. She descended slowly. Her father stood by the door, waiting. When she reached the bottom step, she paused in front of me. I'm sorry, she whispered again. I studied her face, not the cousin I grew up with, but the woman who made a choice. Loneliness isn't an accident, I said quietly. It's a conversation you entertain. She began crying again. Her father pulled her gently toward the door. Let's go. The gate closed behind them. Now it was just Tunde and me. He dropped into a chair heavily. You're throwing everything away. No, I said. You did. He laughed bitterly. So what? You think you'll run the company alone? I won't need to, I said calmly. Because I'm withdrawing. He stared at me. You can't just walk away and expect it to survive without you. That's not my responsibility anymore. His lips parted slightly, and I saw it, the first real flicker of fear. Not about the marriage. Not about shame. About money. About control. You're being emotional, he tried again. I gave a small, almost pitying smile. If I were emotional, I would have destroyed you publicly last night. He stood abruptly. What do you want from me? Nothing, I replied. That's the point. Silence. The generator hummed outside. A car passed on the street. The world moved forward, indifferent to the collapse happening inside our home. I'll fight this, he said finally. I expect you to. He grabbed his car keys from the table. You're making a mistake. I looked around the living room, the white walls, the art I chose, the couch I paid for. No, I said quietly. I corrected one. He walked toward the door, then stopped. You think you're better than me? I think I deserve better than this. That was the last thing I said before he left. The door shut. The house fell silent again. For the first time since the night before, I allowed myself to sit down. My hands rested on my knees. My breathing was steady. My heart was not shattered, it was reorganized. I picked up my phone and scrolled to a contact saved as Barrister Chaik Mosu. He answered in a firm, professional tone. Good morning, Amora. Good morning, Barrister. I'm ready. For the divorce filing. Yes. And the corporate withdrawal. He paused briefly. Are you certain? I've never been more certain about anything. Good, he said. Come to my office this afternoon. Bring every document you have. I will. By 2 p.m., I was seated across from him in his office on Admiralty Way. The air conditioning was cold, sharp against my skin. He adjusted his glasses as he reviewed the documents I placed on his desk. You were very strategic when you invested. I didn't invest emotionally, I said. He nodded slowly. Your name is clearly on the property deed. That simplifies things. And the business? He tapped the agreement. You hold majority influence in initial capital injection. There are protective clauses here. He looked up at me. He underestimated you. He always did. He leaned back in his chair. Divorce proceedings can get ugly. I've already seen ugly, I replied. Paperwork doesn't scare me. He allowed himself a faint smile. We'll file by Friday. And the accounts? We can freeze joint access temporarily pending review. Do it. His expression softened slightly. Are you all right? I considered the question carefully. I'm clear. When I left his office, the Lagos sun felt brighter than usual. Not warmer, brighter. As if the haze had lifted from my own vision. The week moved quickly. By Friday, joint accounts were frozen. Legal notices were drafted. Corporate communications were scheduled. Tunde called repeatedly. I didn't answer. He sent messages, angry at first, then pleading, then threatening. You'll regret this. You're destroying everything. Call me. I didn't. On Wednesday of the following week, news began to circulate quietly among business partners that restructuring was underway. Investors grew cautious. Without my financial oversight, numbers started revealing weaknesses. Expenses Tunde had approved casually. Deals he'd made based on charm instead of calculation. Within a month, cracks appeared. Within 2 months, they widened. Contracts were withdrawn. Payments delayed. Staff salaries questioned. That smart and charming Tunde was suddenly overwhelmed. He requested meetings with me through lawyers. I declined. Communication stayed strictly formal. One evening, as I reviewed documents in what used to be our shared study, I realized something profound. I wasn't grieving him. I was grieving the illusion. And illusions, once shattered, are easier to release than truth. The divorce process moved steadily. Not dramatic. Not explosive. Just methodical. Tunde's tone shifted from arrogance to negotiation. Let's settle this quietly. I responded through my lawyer. He tried to appeal emotionally once. He showed up at the house unannounced. When I opened the door, he looked exhausted. Amora, please. We can start over. I studied his face. With who? With me. You lost that privilege. He shook his head. You're cold now. No, I said gently. I'm aware. 2 months after that hotel night, the company officially collapsed under financial strain and investor withdrawal. Staff dispersed. Offices closed. The same people who once praised his brilliance now avoided his calls. Meanwhile, I had already begun laying foundations for something new. Quietly. Carefully. A consulting firm. Small at first. Focused on financial structure and risk assessment. I worked from a rented office space, modest but efficient. No grand announcements. No social media celebration. Just work. And peace. For the first time in years, I woke up without tension sitting quietly in my chest. The house in Lekki no longer felt like a stage for a perfect marriage. It felt like mine. And I slept deeply. 6 months later, Abuja was glowing under golden evening lights when I saw her again. It was my colleague Ada's wedding, an elegant ceremony in a large event center in Maitama. Crystal chandeliers, white floral arrangements, soft music floating through the air. I wore a simple champagne-colored dress and minimal jewelry. No dramatic entrance. No need. I had learned something over the past months: peace doesn't announce itself. It just exists. I was speaking with a client near the buffet table when I felt it, that strange sensation of being watched. I turned. Ifeanyi stood near the entrance. She looked thinner. Not physically frail, but emotionally worn. The spark she once carried in her eyes had dimmed. Her dress was beautiful, but she wore it like someone trying too hard to look okay. Our eyes met. For a brief second, she looked like she might turn around and leave. She didn't. Instead, she walked toward me slowly. Each step felt like a memory replaying itself: the kitchen in my house, the hotel corridor, her tears on my marble floor. When she reached me, her voice was soft. Amora. I nodded politely. Ifeanyi. There was no anger in my tone. Just acknowledgement. You look good, she said. I replied. She swallowed. Can we talk? I glanced around. The music was gentle, conversations flowing around us unnoticed. Briefly. We stepped aside toward a quieter corner near the garden doors. The evening breeze slipped in through the open glass. She clasped her hands together nervously. I've wanted to reach out. You didn't. I was ashamed. That didn't stop you before. She winced slightly at the truth in that sentence. Tunde and she began, then stopped. I waited. He left, she said finally. I wasn't surprised. I heard. Her eyes widened. You heard? Lagos is small when it wants to be. She looked down. He said he needed space. Then I found out he was seeing someone else. The irony hovered between us. I thought he loved me, she whispered. I studied her carefully. Did he? She didn't answer. Instead, tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they weren't dramatic. They were tired. I'm sorry, she said. Not because he left, but because I hurt you. I let the silence stretch long enough for her words to settle. Loneliness doesn't justify betrayal, I said calmly. You knew that. I convinced myself you were strong. That you'd survive it. I gave a faint, humorless smile. So I was collateral damage. No, she said quickly. I was selfish. That, at least, was honest. The music inside shifted to a louder rhythm. Laughter erupted from somewhere near the dance floor. Life continuing. I don't expect forgiveness, she added. That's good, I replied evenly. Her face tightened slightly. I've already forgiven you, I continued. Her head snapped up. You have? Yes. She looked confused. Why? Because carrying anger would tie me to that hotel room forever. She stared at me as if seeing someone entirely new. I needed freedom more than revenge, I said. She shook her head slowly. I thought catching us that night would destroy you. It revealed you, I replied softly. And it revealed him. A tear slid down her cheek. Do you hate me? I considered the question honestly. No. After everything? Hatred requires energy, I said. And I've invested mine elsewhere. She let out a shaky breath. I lost everything. No, I corrected gently. You lost what was never stable. She looked away. He told me you were too controlling. Too ambitious. That he felt small beside you. I almost laughed. And you believed him. I wanted to. There it was again. Choice. Do you regret it? I asked. She nodded immediately. Every day. I studied her face carefully, searching for manipulation. I didn't find it. Just consequence. I built something new, I said after a moment. I heard, she replied quietly. Your consulting firm. People say you're doing well. I am. She gave a small nod. You deserve it. The word sounded sincere. We stood there for a few seconds in shared history. Not friends. Not enemies. Just two women connected by a decision that changed everything. Why did you thank me? She asked suddenly. I remembered that night in my living room, when she had looked at me in shock. Because if I hadn't caught you, I said calmly, I would still be living in an illusion. She frowned slightly. I thought I had a loyal husband, I continued. I thought I had a safe home. I thought I was secure. But security built on deception isn't security. It's delay. She listened quietly. You didn't destroy my life, I added. You exposed its cracks. Her eyes filled again. I don't know how to fix mine. That's not my responsibility, I said gently. But you start by being honest with yourself. The music swelled as the couple entered the hall for their first dance. Applause erupted. I looked toward the ballroom briefly, then back at her. I hope you find peace, I said. You too, she whispered. I already have. I picked up my clutch and stepped back into the hall. Conversations resumed around me. Laughter. Music. Celebration. I didn't look back. Later that night, as I stood outside under the Abuja sky waiting for my ride, I reflected on everything. 6 months ago, I had knocked on a hotel door expecting heartbreak. Instead, I found clarity. Tunde had moved on again, predictable. The business had collapsed, inevitable. But I had rebuilt quietly. Steadily. Without noise. Back in Lekki, the house felt different now, not haunted, not heavy. Just peaceful. Mine. I learned something through all of it. Betrayal feels like destruction in the moment. But sometimes it's demolition before renovation. You cannot build something solid on cracked foundations. That Tuesday night didn't end my life. It corrected it.